probably the worst possible people Amazon could ever hire to manage the James Bond movie. They have hired. They've done it. Amy Pascal. The woman, that's a woman on the left there, Bo. If you can, that is an actual woman, not one of those new women that you get today. That's an actual woman.
I was getting ready to say.
Looks like Edward Scissorhands really let himself go.
Yeah, Edward Scissorhands on meth.
She always looks like she's like on meth. You're laughing. That's a real thing. She always looks like she's whacked out on something.
Amazon have hired these. Why? They've hired these people to do the next James Bond movie.
Wasn't she? I thought she was running Sony.
That was back in the day before they kicked her ass to the curb, dude.
Oh God, I'm behind.
She was presiding over Sony when they had the email leaks, where they were going to be like, "Yeah, let's make a Aunt May spin-off movie."
Oh,
no one wants that. Yeah. What the hell are you doing? That's the producing prowess we're working with here.
Wow. Yeah. James Bond is DOA already. They haven't even started it.
It's pretty bad. So this has literally just dropped today before we started this show. And it says this: it's official. James Bond has found its producers in Amy Pascal and David Heyman. The duo have been tapped by Amazon MGM to steer the new Bond film, the first to be produced by someone outside the Broccoli family. Pascal will produce the film via Pascal Pictures, with Heyman producing via Heyday Films, and it was made immediately clear if they would be producing Bond titles beyond the immediate next film. What? It was made immediately clear if they would. That's not a sentence. It was made immediately clear if they would be. That's not a sentence. Am I having an aneurysm?
No.
Am I reading that right? That's not a sentence, is it?
No.
How was it made? It was made. Oh my God! I can't handle this shit. It's too late. Apparently, the Hollywood Reporter has an editor issue. Okay. The selection comes after Amazon MGM closed the deal with Barbara Broccoli, Michael G. Wilson. Those are the producers whose family have been managing James Bond since the 1960s. So this is monumental news that other people are managing it now and producing it. But also, why did you choose these people? Like, of all people. So Amazon MGM highlighted both Pascal and Heyman's track record in franchise filmmaking. Pascal is behind the Spider-Man franchise. She's not, though. She's not really behind it. With Tom Holland fronted films, who, they've done $3 billion at the box office, but she's not really behind it.
Nope.
She's not really behind
it.
Yeah. And a lot of people had issues with those Spider-Man films, especially with the Mary Jane character.
Yeah. Heyman shepherded the Harry Potter franchise, including the spin-off series Fantastic Beasts. So that's a better. But no, it's not better, actually. Sorry. These are not a good fit for James Bond. None of these are a good fit for James Bond. Sorry, what am I even saying? Even if she was behind Spider-Man, sorry, that doesn't correlate to James Bond. What are you talking about, Amazon? No. Harry Potter? No. There's nothing remotely similar to James Bond here. No. Anyway, there's a statement here from Amazon. They're going to try and sell it to everyone. We're approaching every creative decision with James Bond, which Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson have so masterfully steered with the greatest sense of responsibility. Yeah, so we hired like a crackhead. Okay, good. I mean, she looks like one. Part of an elite group of producers who have developed and managed massive film franchises to box office success and critical acclaim. Amy Pascal and David Heyman are two of the most accomplished, experienced, and respected film producers in our industry. They're actually not.
No.
They're actually not some of the most respected. Amy Pascal is a joke. People look at her like a joke. Like, her interviews are unbelievably they're mental. Like, she's a joke. Anyway, Pascal and Heyman made a joint statement. James Bond is one of the most iconic characters in the history of cinema. Yep, true. Now you're gonna butt fuck him, but all right. We're humbled to follow in the footsteps of Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, who made so many extraordinary films, and honoured and excited to keep the spirit of Bond very much alive as he embarks on his next adventure. And that's it. This is crap. They're not a good fit. What do you think? Over to you, Bo. I'm going to go to you first.
Yeah, it doesn't bode well, does it? It doesn't sound like it's going to be any good whatsoever. But I mean, you know what I was thinking, just as a broad point while you were talking, I was thinking about, maybe I'm overdoing it here, but in history, there's very often this thing that early attempts at something are the pinnacle, and it just degenerates and gets worse. And often historians look back on that. Many people look back at that, those trends, and think, that's odd, isn't it? Why didn't people get better at the thing? Why didn't it get better and better? For example, the pyramid builders, very, very early on, was the zenith. The Great Pyramid is only the 5th dynasty. Very, very, very early on. And it degenerated. It got crapper and crapper and crapper until it was laughable. But that's just one example. There's many, many, many examples, not just in building and architecture. In art, in all sorts of ways. Very often at the beginning of a dynasty or the beginning of an epoch, the artistic achievements are the best. But we see this playing out here, right? Classic Hollywood, or even films that were made in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, significantly better than they are now. Like now we're descending into a parody. When I went to see Snow White, all the trailers, I was astounded by the trailers. Like they're doing a remake of How to Train Your Pet Dragon. You remember that movie?
Yeah.
They're remaking that with like better CGI or something. They're doing Lilo and Stitch, but it's live action. But Stitch is animated, but like a Garfield movie where everyone's real, but it's like it's art at least in cinema, but we could say in all sorts of ways, art is degenerating. It's getting worse. Clearly, obviously, undeniably, right? And Bond looks like Bond is going to be no exception. They'll put it into the hands of these subversive maniacs that are not interested. They're not interested in the character Bond, any continuity. They're not interested in any of that. They're not interested in making crafting a great narrative with good characters and tension and being loyal to what Bond is. I'm sure they'll have no intention of that, and so what they create will be crap, obviously, almost certainly. So yeah, it's just interesting to see how I was thinking how often that is the case, that things just keep degenerating over time rather than getting better. But, okay.
I think it's going to get worse though. On your point of your key point there of art degenerating, it's going to get worse because you're going to see Hollywood now have an over reliance on AI. So there's actually going to be no level of creativity and truly, I guess, truly groundbreaking art that sort of breaks the mold. We're not going to see new things, new ideas now. We're going to see rehashed, sort of cobbled together mishmash of previous art, and that's it, because they're just going to use AI, and that's all AI can actually do.
And so to the point of absurdity, though, as well, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you. Sorry.
No, I mean that's just true creative bankruptcy. We're just not going to see anything new now, when we haven't. Well, I say that obviously I'm speaking from like a monolith perspective here, right? That's the argument. We will obviously see some new stuff. There will be new things, but it won't be what is considered a blockbuster. We're not going to see Sony. Well, maybe Sony. We're not going to see Disney putting $250 million or whatever, it's absurd amounts behind something that's actually new. It'll be an indie production house that makes new stuff now, and that's where you're going to have to start to sort of divert your attention towards if you want new things, because Warner Brothers, Disney, Universal, Paramount, all these other companies will just start using AI, and nothing will be new. Just be regurgitated, rehashed shit.
Well, by the way, the problem is it doesn't just stop at Hollywood. It goes into the gaming industry and all the other things that our worst fears would be realized. It's why, as angry as I am with Hollywood and the actors in particular for just being neo-Marxist identitarian fucktards, I at the same time will say that they at least are asking Trump for the right thing, which is to stop the training of AI on all of this media material. I think rights preservation is very important. And I think the idea of returning the rights to the artists, the original artists, are, of paramount importance. But I do believe that the particular type of material is has reached its apex of use at 100 years. Therefore, nothing should be sustained beyond 100 years, because that's how you end up in this particular situation, where there's
Disney
an
are the
over
ones that
reliance.
made it go for 80 years, didn't they? The
Yeah.
copyright stuff. So,
But that's my point, is that it needs to return, and then eventually become a public domain. I think 100 years is enough, and at that point, anybody can use it or any concept from it, and that way we're maybe out of this deprecated Hollywood or deprecated media industry, because it really is all over the place. In my opinion, I could be wrong.
I think everyone knows it's all over the place. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with you there. These people are terrible for Bond. I don't think there's anything that they've made that would carry over to James Bond. The real telltale sign of just how garbage Amazon's choices will be who these idiots, and they are idiots, decide to direct the film. That'll be make or break, because these people are idiots anyway. I'm leaning towards it not being particularly good. But if by some weird miracle they hire a good person to direct it, maybe there's some positivity there, but I doubt it.
I'm more concerned on who's going to be writing it.
Right.
Yeah, true.
I think you almost had an answer on the director, although he's basically said he hasn't made a decision yet. And as far as the Bond character, I think it's going to be.
No, you just breezing past that. Who's the director?
Oh, I don't remember his name. It was announced near the same time period that they were in talks with him, and I can't remember his name. He's an unknown to me, so I'll try to find.
Oh, right, yes, great.
No, I'm serious. Yeah. He does. I mean, he does. I don't recognize his name, or any of his work. So that's usually not a great sign. I mean, I do try to, keep up a little bit with film and television, but what I can't do is store an unknown person's name in my brain, because I'm old.
Yeah, no, I get it. I understand.
But the other thing that I'm worried about is they really only have a choice of 2 or 3 actors for this role, or else they're going to fudge it up. And, at least we're not going to end up with, well, at least I hope we don't end up with one of them wearing a dress like Daniel Craig did at the end. And now I understand why. He's a little floaty, and he doesn't need the pixie dust. He's got plenty in his pockets. He floats around. But like I said, I mean, you have the guy from the Kick-Ass movies, right? The kid that played Kick-Ass, who's just absolutely yoked now. Obviously Henry Cavill, who would be a little old for the role now. Although, I mean, I say that, and then Roger Moore rolled in as like 1,000 years old when he started playing the part. So, I guess. That other kid that was in the gosh, what is it called? It's not The Gentleman, the stupid Golden Circle movie. It's another Secret Service.
Taron Egerton.
Yeah, Edgerton. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, I can't see another person being believable or young enough to play the role and be British or Scottish or whatnot. I mean, somewhere in the UK, I could Great Britain and whatnot. But I just don't see anybody else doing that role. I don't know. Can you guys mention someone that might do it?
I can't think of anybody other than the people you mentioned.
Yeah, no, it's got to be Cavell, really. One point, Coach, you made earlier, which I thought was a really good point to build on, just that is about what I said about the degeneration of art and movies. And you said, yeah, it's not just that, it's games and all sorts of. Yeah, no, it's a symptom of our entire culture in the West, at least. Yeah, it's infused into our politics, into everything. A degeneracy, a subversion and a degeneracy woven into the very fabric of all of society. And art, movies in this case, is really just one symptom of that. Right. And as for Bond, I mean, let's be honest, right? It's been like the original Ian Fleming novels are so old. Like, what is it? The early 60s, Doctor No, or the first Bond film?
Yeah, no, you're right. 64, I think, if I remember properly.
It's been around for so long now that Bond has gone through all sorts of metamorphosis. So, like, we've all seen nearly all the movies, right? So you've got like the early ones where Bond isn't invincible. He gets hurt and sometimes he makes bad mistakes and he does things that are undeniably morally wrong. Then you've got sort of the Roger Moore years where he sort of just quips and never so much gets a scratch. And, so it's a different Bond, sort of a different Bond, especially compared to the Ian Fleming original ones in the novels. And then it goes back a bit to like sort of in the Pierce Brosnan era. Bond did start getting hurt again.
Yeah,
sometimes he'd get beaten up and stuff. And into the Daniel Craig times, like you see Bond get tortured or whatever, get his balls smashed or whatever. So Bond has gone through changes, right? It's not. That's what it's going to be if you've got a franchise going for 50 years, 60 years, whatever it is. So. Okay, Bond, the character is malleable and can change with the times. It would be impossible to avoid that. Okay. But if you're going to sort of make it a black woman or something, like then, so now, like, it's wrong to keep calling it James Bond or a 007 movie or whatever it is. It's not now. You've perverted the character so thoroughly that it's unrecognizable.
Let me introduce the idea, Bo, because you're a proper Englishman. That by the way, Dr. No was 1962. I was off 2 years, but Daniel Craig is the one that did the most damage to the character because he and the stewards of the property allowed for James Bond to be turned into Jason Bourne. So you had shaky camera, close up fighting ridiculousness, and a lot of things that entered because of that, because of Daniel Craig, who I still think he's even weaker than Timothy Dalton, and that's saying a lot. I think if you study the novels, Ian Fleming's James Bond was more like George Lazenby than he was any of the others, and yet the personification of Bond, in my estimation, would be for England. So so I just feel like. I feel like Roger Moore wasn't exactly Bond, but he was passable. I mean, truly, there's really only one Bond.
Connery.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's my.
Well, these people are not going to make a good Bond. What's your thoughts, Nick?
It's a correct answer.
I mean, I agree with what all you guys are saying. I don't have much to add other than I want to find out who the writer is, and these are the two main things: who the writer is for this, and who they're hiring or casting for James Bond. Once we find out those little tidbits, I'll have a better idea of where I think this is going. But just with the announcement of these two clowns, I have no hope or faith that any new James Bond that comes out coming from them is going to be worth a shit. So,
yeah, I agree with that. We got two super chats about this. Both are from Gary.
I got to make a quick work call. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So he says, I want an action movie with a badass sister Rose Red. I don't get it. I'm not going to lie. That's
sorry.
Gone over my head. I'm not sure what's going on there, Gary, mate, but all right. And then Gary also says, I want Cavill and Nolan 007 movies or get Guy Ritchie. Yeah, Guy Ritchie would be good. Like he would be good. He can do the dialogue, I think. He'd have to tone it down a lot, but I think Guy Ritchie's witticisms and his dialogue is so cutthroat and so quick. I think if he was to be if he was to be given parameters to work within, I think you'd end up with something incredibly funny, which is what James Bond, you need some of that witticisms between Q and James Bond. Like, you need that. You also need it with the villains that he goes up against, right? Like, that stuff's important. Like, it just elevates it. And I think Guy Ritchie could do that really, really well. But yeah, he's not going to do it. Unlikely.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
there you go.
I loved his writing and dialogue in The Gentleman.
The Gentleman's a fantastic movie, like absolutely brilliant. Great film. Rewatch value out the wazoo. It's just because, again, the dialogue's just so great.
And
it's such a solid movie.
What if I told you I have my suspicions of who will be writing it?
Well, you can just tell us who it is then, can't you?
Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Oh no.
Well, she can suck a fat one, can't
That
she?
would
No
be
one wants her
the
to do that.
worst.
So that'd be terrible, but all right. That'd be like just god awful. But okay, whatever. Anyway, James Bond, it's up Schitt's Creek. We'll see how it goes. But let's move on now. There you go. Right. Okay.